Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and in this video I'll be using the Bless Your Heart Vignette die set to create a nameplate. So as you can see here, I already have a piece cut out, and I'm really using this die set mainly for the frame to create my nameplate. I won't be actually using the sentiment in this project. So here you can see the die is much shorter than that piece of silver mirror card that I had on screen earlier. So I'll show you how I actually do partial die cutting to extend the length of this frame. And you can make it as long as you like. Now I do have my top plate covering the entire die, but I'm only going to run it through halfway. I'm aiming to actually stop die cutting along where the frame starts to straighten out, because I don't want to start die cutting into the curved area at the bottom. So there you can see it's really just gone halfway down that straight area, because that's the area that we can actually extend this and sort of stretch it out to be as long as we want. And in this case, I'm making this nameplate 8 inches long. And so I'm going to go ahead and clean out this bit a little bit. And the reason why I'm cutting 2 is because this is actually going to go on to the back of the silver piece. And what's really nice about this die and how it's designed is that along the 2 sides there is a little bit of a debossed sort of valley that you can really feel when the die is exactly in place with the previous sort of cut line. And so here I'm looking for my a different top cutting plate, because even though I have a Cuttlebug, I'm actually going to be using the Sizzix Sidekick cutting plate. It's a mini, it's for their mini machine, and it's perfect because, as you can see, it only covers that center section where everything is completely straight. And that's what we want, because we just want to extend that middle portion. And what's really nice about this design is that you do have sort of that those debossed lines along the side. So not only does it add beautiful detail, but it definitely helps you to kind of keep everything lined up nice and neat as you continue to move your die downwards. So what I'm going to do is make sure to line up my die with the silver piece, because I'm trying to cut this white cardstock to match exactly the length of my silver piece. So I'm going to just push that silver piece right back into the die and line that up on the other end with my white cardstock. And then I'm going to just trace around the outside of this. You could run it through your machine just like that, and likely it'll at least partially cut through your cardstock, but I just didn't want to scratch up my silver mirror card. So I'm just going to line it up again, and either you could use your small cutting plate and just continue to cut all the way down to where it meets up in the center with your previous cut, or you can do this where you line up your top cutting plate to only cover the portion of the die that you actually want to cut. And so I'm going to go ahead and run that through, and then I don't like to actually run it completely off the edge of the top cutting plate, because I think it might add a little bit too much extra pressure as it rolls off the edge, and since the edge is in the middle of the die, I don't want to risk damaging the die at all. So I have it completely cut now, and as you can see, that lined up perfectly. And in a second here, I'll match it up with my silver piece just to make sure that we do indeed have 2 identical pieces, because I'm going to be fitting the white piece onto the back of my silver piece. And I'll be putting the professional cut edge on the outside. That way, even though you don't really see the back, it'll still look nice and it'll look finished and it'll have that same debossed detail. And as you can see, I also did the matte layer already, just using the exact same technique as I just showed. So maybe, relook at your dies and see, if you have frames like these where there's just a simple edge in the center, and then, it kind of opens up a lot more options. So if there's a different sentiment you want to put there, or if you want to make different projects like this, then you can always sort of extend or lengthen your frames. And so I'm going to just go ahead and put my matte layer here, and then I've already die cut the letters in her name. This is actually from a Spellbinder's steel roll die. It's called Say It Like You Mean It, and this is one of the ones that was on super clearance, not just this past spring clearance sale, but I think it was from last year's spring clearance. And I picked up this one. I think I picked up like two big steel roll die sets that were alphabet and numbers during that spring clearance sale. These are fantastic because they're tall, but they're also skinny. So you can actually, spell out longer phrases or names, but not have to make something super wide. This is a very, very tight fit though, because I didn't actually measure in advance, but it does all fit. So thankfully. And what I like to do a lot of times when I'm using liquid adhesive is I like to put the glue on a few pieces at a time, in this case 2, and then by the time I circle back to the first letter to place it, it will have dried a little bit, and that just makes it a little bit tackier, and then it'll grab faster. And since it had a little bit of time to soak into the cardstock already, it also won't kind of ooze out quite as much either. So that's basically the nameplate complete. But I'm actually going to make her a couple of additional pieces because I want to give her the option of either using this as on her desk or maybe hanging it on her wall if she preferred that. So I'm going to score at 1.5, 3, 4, and cut at 4.5. So they'll give me a little triangle when I fold it up with a 1/2-inch glue tab. And so this is actually going to be my little display stand here. And I did double check that the piece that I have, since it's just a scrap piece I was working from, was a little bit too long, so I just trimmed that down. And I'm going to double check that this is going to work because I wasn't 100% certain of these dimensions, but you can always adjust that little triangle stand. If you want it to lean backwards a little bit more, then you might want to change some of the lengths or widths where you actually score. And so that's just something that's a personal preference, but I thought this worked out pretty well, so I'm gonna go with it. And I just have a couple of these small Velcro dots, and here you could glue this little glue tab and have the triangle kind of already be set like that, but I have to mail this to her, so I want to be able to fold this down flat and then have her be able to reassemble it. So so I thought the Velcro would be an easy way to have it close and open and close and still be able to fold flat. I'm putting a little bit of 3-in-1 beacon glue on here because I'm not 100% certain how strong the adhesive that's on the Velcro is, but that beacon 3-in-1 is really strong, so hopefully once that dries, it'll be good to go. And this piece is cut from 120 pound cardstock. So that should hold up pretty well too. So once I've got this piece down, just want to make sure that I have it oriented the way that I want. And I'm actually going to draw a line right where she would line this up, and I drew that line a little bit crooked, so I'm gonna have to redo that. But the idea here is that since I'm giving her two different options, one to use this as a wall hanging and the second to use it as a desk nameplate, I am not going to actually attach anything to the nameplate just yet. So here I'm going to show you how I am going to make the wall hanging attachment. So I just drew a line and gave myself some tick marks 1/2 inch from the edge. And the die I'm using here is actually from the For You gift card holder, and it's the die that cuts out 2 half circles, one on either end of that die, so that you can actually hold a gift card in, you know, a little card or an envelope, and I'm just using it for the half circle. These half circle dies are one of the most useful ones, so I find myself using them a lot. So I'm going to use my trimmer to just trim off the area right where my half circle ends. And I know that's not where my line was, but I was just using my lines so that I was able to kind of line those up straight with each other. And I do have a crocodile here, and I'm going to use that to punch a hole right in the center of the half circles that we just die cut. And what's nice about this is that there is that little guard that you can sort of adjust, and that way you can butt your paper up against that little guard rail, and that gives you the ability to always punch at the same depth. And so what I'm going to do is actually give myself a couple more lines that are in the center of the nameplate and the center of this wall hanging piece. And the idea being that if she wanted to use this, that she would use those center lines and the line that I previously drew to line up this piece. And what I'm going to do is for both options, I'm going to put a double-sided adhesive tape on the back so that she can actually attach it to the nameplate, whichever option she decides to use. And then the other, whatever she doesn't use, she can just throw away, or possibly keep, but I don't know why she would keep it. But there's what it would look like if it was a wall hanging. So that was just me testing it out and make sure that it worked okay. I like to put a little bit of fray check at the ends of my ribbon just to keep those ends from fraying, and it just keeps them nice and neat. I guess it's been a while since I used this bottle, so it was a little bit dried out at the end there. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun little project to make for my nieces as well. I'm giving her a couple notes on the back there so that she knows where to line things up and what all the lines are for and how to attach things. So here I'm going to put score tape on both pieces so that whichever option she decides to use, she can just peel and stick and she should be good to go. And there you have it. So we've got a nameplate, a little desk stand, and a little wall hanging attachment. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. If you'd like to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and whenever I publish new videos, you'll get a notification. Thank you again, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!